Hey everybody, welcome to this month's virtual talks with video activists. We have with us tonight Denise Siccardi from Community TV Network and scholar Jessica Huff, who will be moderating a conversation with her, as well as a nice little screening of early CTVN stuff that I think you will all will find absolutely wonderful and delightful and inspiring and everything that CTVN is. So I'm Adam Hart. I'm a curator for MediaBurn. We've been doing these virtual talks with video activists since 2020, and we've got a really fun and exciting slate of events coming up. Um, We've spent the last few years collecting and digitizing amazing work from video history's most passionate, unique, and fiercely independent voices. And we're really excited to share them with you. So we'll be holding monthly events for the foreseeable future. We also have some very exciting news that I'm sure many of you already know, which is that we will be launching a brand new website in just a few short weeks. Sarah and I have been hard at work on this, working with the wonderful folks at Ink and Craft. It looks fantastic. It's going to work so much better than our current website. It's going to be wonderful, and we're really absolutely thrilled that we're going to be sharing that with you in the future. For those of you who don't know anything about MediaBurn, we're an independent archive that collects the history of independent, community-based, and otherwise overlooked video from the history of media. Our collection is completely free to watch. It's all on our website at mediaburn.org. We believe in making media available to the public and trying to give overlooked videos the global audience that they deserve. So for tonight's event, we'll be screening a compilation of CTVN videos, which I'll talk about in a minute. But first, tonight's participants. Denise Siccardi is the founder and executive director of the nonprofit youth media organization Community TV Network. CTVN, now 50 years old, teaches Chicago youth to produce and distribute videos that promote youth empowerment and positive social change. Denise is a community activist who has participated in efforts to improve education for young people and to change the media to include diverse participation since the early 1970s. Jessica Huff is an art historian, curator, and educator based in Chicago. She's a doctoral candidate in art history at Northwestern University, where her research explores the intersecting histories of art, activism, and new technologies in the late 20th century United States through the lenses of queer theory, critical race and ethnic studies, and radical art pedagogies. She's a Mellon Fellow in Gender and Sexuality Studies at Northwestern and has earned graduate certification in critical theory and reflective and effective teaching. She is a volunteer writing tutor with Northwestern Prison Education Project, a trained medical advocate for survivors of sexual assault, and a postpartum doula for Chicagoland families of all backgrounds. So briefly about CTVN and the screening tonight. CTVN was founded in 1974 by Denise and has spent the last 50 years putting cameras in the hands of students and community members across Chicago. It's an organization that has dedicated itself to teaching underserved students to shoot and edit video in order to tell their stories, to film their lives, and to film their communities. In 1986, CTVN created Hardcover, a local cable news show made by and for high school students. That program, which I am guessing is now the longest running youth media broadcast in the United States, possibly the world, has produced more than 700 episodes, many of which can be viewed on the CTVN YouTube page. MediaBurn CTVN collection is massive, and it's always growing as we continue to work with Denise and her collaborators. But our collection focuses on the first 10 years of CTVN's existence, in which Siccardi and the CTVN staff worked with Chicago's Alternative Schools Network to teach courses on video production in alternative high schools around the city, as well as various community centers. Students learn the equipment through class projects and by taking the camera out into the streets, talking to ordinary folks about the issues and concerns that were most important to them. They made videos about their neighborhoods, about their families, about their friends, and about themselves. They recorded protests and performances, poetry readings and mural paintings, little kids and grown adults in Pilsen, Bronzeville, Humboldt Park, Uptown, and all over Chicago. The result is what I would call a major archive of everyday Chicagoans unlike any other. Tonight's screening focuses on the early years of CTVN, mostly the 1970s. We'll see a range of material, street interviews. We will see a poetry performance from the great David Hernandez. We'll see segments of 2 edited videos, Mary Ann, which is a film that we at Media Burn absolutely adore. It's a lovely tribute to an older sister made by 2 little girls. And Keep County Open, a just absolutely fiery protest documentary about the attempts to keep Cook County Hospital from being shut down by some pretty awful people in the state legislature. There's just a lot of brief little portraits of Chicagoans who happen to be passing by the camera on the street. We hear from them. We hear from all sorts of people across the city. Okay, so I'm starting to ramble, so I should get the screening started.
Hi, we're talking to, what's your name?
Giants.
And what's your name?
Kim.
Do you like living over here in Robert Taylor Homes? Why do you like living over here?
Without that love friends.
You got a lot of friends? How many friends do you have? 5 friends? What do you do with your friends?
Play.
And what else?
And play
You
football.
play football? What else?
And talk.
You talk? Well, what about you? Do you like living over here in Robert Taylor Homes? Why not?
My boys beat me up.
The boys beat you up? Why do the boys beat you up?
My mom said I can't play with me. Then my mom said I can play with no boys. Then my mom said fight them back if they mess with you.
So you don't like Robert Taylor Homes because the boys beat you up, huh?
Yeah, because they're so big, they want to beat me up
They so big they want to beat you up?
for nothing.
They beat you up for nothing? Do you like your school? What school do you go to?
You don't go to school. Yes, I did. Not you do.
You go to nursery school?
He used to.
What school do you go to?
Fair.
Farron? Tell me about your school.
So nasty and dirty. All over mouses.
It's nasty and dirty. It has a lot of mice? What the mouse be doing? They
We don't-
bother you?
They don't bother me because they don't be in my class.
The mice don't be in your class?
They be in the lunchroom.
Well, why are the mice in the lunchroom? Do they eat the food there?
Yeah.
What about you? You like mice? You do?
I eat them.
You eat mice? I don't think you eat mice. Your mother don't feed you mice. Are you afraid of mice?
Yeah.
Well, what does your teacher do with the mice in the school?
My teacher don't mess with mice.
You don't? Okay.
How come, is this on?
Yeah, it's on.
How come I can't hear it loud?
It's on. I can hear you.
Oh.
I can hear you. Right here, right here. Say my name.
My name is Santiago.
A little too close.
Oh.
Try it again. Thank you.
My name is Santiago.
Where do you live? Say your address.
4855 West North Kenmore.
Yeah. And what city? You know what city you live in? Okay.
I don't know.
Who is this?
My little sister.
Introduce her. Come on over here. Come on over here. Ask her. Tell her to say her name and everything.
What is your name? I don't know.
You don't know your name?
No.
Yes, you do.
Veronica. Veronica.
What are you doing today, Veronica?
I'm fine.
Oh, I see. Oh,
It was fat.
don't say anything. You said a bad word?
No. I told the teacher that I heard one that she said a bad word to the teacher, but the teacher didn't know, so I told her.
Oh, you told on somebody. Is that a good thing to do?
No.
It is or it's not? Let's ask this boy. Is it a good thing to tell on somebody?
That depends.
Like what? Give me an example. Give Santiago.
If you're telling on the mafia, it's bad for you. If you're telling someone in school, sorta.
What could happen if you told on somebody in school?
Well, if you want your head busted, just tell on someone.
So it's kind of dangerous, huh?
That's right.
Okay. What's your name?
Bob
Oh, you already said that.
Yeah.
What's your last name?
Bates.
You live around here?
Winthrop.
How do you like it? How do you like the neighborhood?
Don't ask.
And blood came out. Right there.
I'm sorry to hear that.
That was today. She wanted to come. She wanted to come to. Could she? Ratchet can't come to the movie studio. No, mine. She told me fucking Ratchet can't be a movie star.
Everybody's a movie star.
How?
Franz is a movie star. You're a movie star.
I ain't no movie star. Do I ain't a movie star? Yeah. She said I'm gonna win money.
If you could be anybody in the world, who would you be?
Could I be anybody in the world? Who would I be?
Ugly. Ugly.
Myself.
Thank you. Can you tell us one nice thing about yourself?
I'm beautiful.
Another nice thing.
Like what, Cookie? Oh, no.
Say how nice you are to the younger.
Oh, let me see. Sometimes I'm mean and sometimes I'm not.
Hi, my name is Leonard Roberts. I'm from Community Television Network. I'd like to ask you a few questions. Do you live near here?
Right down the street, man.
Yeah. Do you think you'll be living here 5 years from now?
I hope the hell I ain't.
Why?
What do you mean, why? Shit. There ain't no damn work.
It's gonna be the reason.
That's the reason there ain't no damn work.
Oh, forget about that. All right. Do you think Reagan knew about the papers obtained from Carter?
Reagan ain't nothing but an asshole.
Do you think Reagan knows more than he says?
He ain't nothing but a chump, and that's all he is, man. He ain't nothing but for the rich folks. He ain't nothing but for us poor folks, man.
What is the most important thing you had to sacrifice because of the economy?
My welfare. What do you think?
Do you have any hope that things will get better?
Hell no. Not as long as Reagan's in there.
I'm sorry, folks. We're having a funny answer going on. So thank you. All right, cut.
Do you hope the economic is better?
Yeah, I hope it gets better. It's not better, but I hope it gets better.
What can you do to make it better?
Well, all we can do is just stick together and pray, and hope that things will get better.
Okay. Is there such a thing of American dream?
No.
Why not?
Well, I have a dream, that, life will get better. People will start to understand each other and we all get together, one day and you know, life just get better. You know, we stop fighting and killing each other, you know.
What is the most important thing you have sacrificed because of the economic?
The most important thing? Freedom of movement, more or less. I have to depend on public transportation to get anywhere. Because of the prices of everything now, I don't have any money left over. I've got a pretty big family, and every once in a while we like to go out. Can't do that now. You know, even to go to the park costs money now.
Yeah, you have to be in a budget.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Is there such a thing of American dream?
Yeah, it's probably unattainable right now.
Do you have an American dream?
Yeah, I do. I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I'd like to see all the veterans that served in the Vietnam era conflict deserve to get the recognition that they should have deserved to have gotten a long time ago.
I hope your dream come true.
Yeah, right on.
Are you a patient here at the
No,
hospital?
my daughter is.
How old is your daughter?
She's 16.
Why do you come to county in particular?
Well, I came to the county because I feel that the best doctors are here. She was born here, and she just had a baby. And she was born here, and I got very good service. And she got very good service too. She had her baby on Thursday. And this is the reason I come, because I felt that the main thing that the best doctors are here.
So it's a real nice hospital. They take care of you when they can, you know. It'd be a lot of people in there, you know. They can't take number one patient at a time, but it's a real nice hospital, though. You know, when they do wait on you, they're always kind to you. Whatever it is, they take care of you. I know they got a good burn unit here because my brother was burnt with third-degree burns, and he's doing real well right now. They took care of him, you know. It takes a little time, though, but when they take care of you, they take care of you. It's a good hospital.
What would happen if Cook County would close?
I would die. So I come here for my kids and myself for help, you know. I had 2 of my babies here, and I thought they did really well, and I had them C-sections. And I just came in last week, Tuesday, and had surgery on Thursday for a tube ligation. And I don't know what I would have done if they would have closed, because I like the doctors, they're really good, and I like the nurses on here too, because they're really good, that you really get your money's worth.
Most of the attending here are amazed when they go to private hospitals and compare the service at the county, even though it's not pretty. Still, the quality of care a lot of times is much, much better because of the concern of the attending and the concern of the staff and the other help that back them up. So it's quite an advantage to come to the county, even though it's not as pretty. You know, it doesn't have flowers in the rooms or color TV.
The most fundamental service that Cook County Hospital gives that nobody else gives is that we provide health care for anybody regardless of their ability to pay, and other hospitals, in spite of rhetoric to that same account, don't do that. Rich people don't pay anything for their health care. They have 100% insurance coverage. Working people, at best, have 80% coverage because all the major medical policies are 20% deductible, 20% self-pay. So it's only the poor people at county who come here with no insurance and no Medicare and no Medicaid who are told they have to pay the whole thing, who are told they have to pay thousands of dollars in costs out of their own pockets. The rich people don't pay a dime because they have health insurance that covers every cent. So it's not just that poor people can less afford to pay it. It's that poor people are the only ones who are being asked to pay it at this point in history.
If we're talking about reversing what's going on at this institution, reversing the decay, then those of us that work here have to begin to speak out loudly and clearly. We have to go to our block clubs, we have to go to our churches, and we have to start telling our friends and neighbors and families exactly what's going on here. We have to put aside the differences we have because of what department we're in, what job description we have here. And we have to fight for keeping this institution open.
All of us must go to our blocks and to our churches and to everyone that we're in contact with, our legislators, and say they have no choice. But we're going to walk together, children, and we're not going to get weary because we're going to win Cook County Hospital.
I want to keep county open. Thank you very much.
I bring greetings of revolutionary love and militant solidarity from Oscar Collazo, Irving Flores, Lolita Lebron, Andres Cordero, and Rafael Castro. Because I'm an attorney, the U.S. Bureau of Prisons is unable to prevent me from seeing these comrades. And in the last 2 months, my law partner and I have visited and talked with these heroes of the national liberation struggle of Puerto Rico. And I can tell you now, without question, that the determination and uncompromising resistance, the struggle for the independence of Puerto Rico, is as strong in the hearts and minds of these comrades as the day they carried out their actions against the Oscar Collazo, 25 years this day, called to action with his comrade Juscelio Carasola to attack warehouse and bring to the world the suppression of the 1950 revolution and the wiping out of the Nationalist Party on the island of Puerto Rico. 25 years in the dungeons of Yankee imperialism, and yet to this day he continues his militant resistance. He continues to talk about the need for a militant fight for the independence of Puerto Rico and to affirm the tradition of the cry of laudes in the Nationalist Party.
Okay, this last mural basically deals with the war in Vietnam. In it we see a person on the upper left-hand corner who has his hands folded and obviously looks like he's rather wealthy. He seems to have some kind of smile, some kind of enjoyment as he looks down upon the two figures who are both brown-skinned and blindfolded. The blindfolds represent the not being able to see all of the truth due to the mass media, the radio, the television, the newspaper, about a war which, as we can see in this picture, the person in the upper left-hand corner seems to be getting something out of. It looks like it's money, as we see in his pocket. Basically, it represents the Latin American, the Puerto Rican, the Mexican, or the Chicano, going off to Vietnam and killing Vietnamese or being killed by the Vietnamese in an effort which will only bring about benefit to that person in the upper left-hand corner and not to anyone else. As we can see, down at the bottom, the mother is represented there, who is holding her son who has come home either wounded or in a box which says "Return to United States of America." It represents the suffering that the community goes through as it loses a lot of its young men, a lot of its older men that go off to fight in a war for profit.
Celebrate things in Puerto Rico. On the other side, as you can see, the picture of a mojo is being done. It's not finished yet, but it should be finished within a couple of days. As you can see on the other side, we got three murals being done. One by Robert Negron, and the other one's done by Hector Soto. Up on top you see the designs of the symbols of the Taino Indians of Puerto Rico. On the bottom of that is a mural done by Hector Soto about the liberation of women fighting savage Indians from other parts of Puerto Rico. And on the bottom you see cockfighting, which is popular in Puerto Rico and it's part of our tradition. Up on the right-hand side of me, on top here, is a wall that's being done about Roberto Clemente, which is not finished. Only the sketch has been done, but it's in the process of being finished. And this is all the work that has been done in this community, plus other murals that have been done by the Puerto Rican brothers and sisters. And this is part of our heritage, you know, just like Mexican on 18th Street, they do their thing. So we're here to do our thing and let our people know that we have young artists, sisters and brothers that could do their thing. Only the thing is that they got to be encouraged to do their thing and not be ashamed of what you know, because we all got it.
Just like to say, you know, like the whole spirit of this thing that we're doing right here, you know, like to a lot of people that pass by, ellos preguntan or they ask, you know, like why we're doing these the certain subjects that we're doing right now. And so like an explanation is like what Mario said before, we're trying to express to the people of the community que nosotros tenemos, we have our own, you know. Like if you go to 18th Street, 26th Street, everybody, they got like all murals of the heritage of the revolution. So what we're trying to do, we're trying to make the people understand that we have our own thing to see, you know. And like to wake them up and say, mira, we can do it, you know. We all do it together and we can do it. And people like to look at pictures, so we're going to do something dynamite para la gente, you know? You dig it? Yeah. And that's it, you know? That's all I got to say.
This poem is entitled Chi-Town Brown. And it goes like this. I am Chi-Town Brown. I am parent dreams of maletas, cardboard suitcases, and tropical faces United Airlines brings to Hope Dealer Chi-Town, to factory life Chi-Town, and winter eyes and unrealized pain. I will survive on my shoulders like a mad dog. I am Chi-Town Brown. I am black, I am white, I am red, the rainbow underground, final utopia speeches the political leeches talk about, as my tears and shouts melt in their eyes, while mommy and papi beg to survive, while this anger and hate has no limit and knows no bound. I am Chi-Town Brown. Cucarachas are my friends. Millions of years, yeah, millions of years, patiently waiting the end of man. They want nothing to do with him. They come out at night and claw for cracks of his perfection to survive, to survive. Stay alive, coño. Don't let a plug at your nerves. Kick his ass. Be hard, be bad. Have no pity for a man's city where children's games is to name their addiction as their veins become a golf course for the needle's conviction that it is a God, that it is a God. I am Chi-Town Brown. Listen to me. Listen to me. Can't you see? Can't you see? So long ago, I could laugh with the forest, with rice and beans, as my words in Espanol, as my vida la boricua, as my pinguas and machine, and my feelings that are healthy, and my thoughts that I'm wealthy, dedicated to the love, the small town that gave me birth. I am Chi-Town Brown. I am the phenomenon, the question mark on the welfare application, as you realize with slow hesitation that I live, that I am proud, that I will kill you, that I am of this, that I am of this. First the human, first Boricua, first the Rican, the primary Mohican, pioneering new love. I am Chi-Town Brown. Yeah.
With that, I will hand the program over to Jessica Huff. Jessica.
Hi. First of all, thank you to Adam for putting this amazing compilation together. I have looked at a lot of these videos like Adam, and there's just so much amazing material to work through. And he did a great job. And so I think for Denise, I mean, the first thing I really want to ask you is, what is youth media? Why youth media? And referencing the title of the program, what is hidden, right, about the history of Chicago that youth media might reveal?
Okay, well, thank you, Jessica. Thank you, everyone at Media Burn. So youth media is, videos are made by young people. And in my case, in CTVN's case, usually most of the time, the topics are chosen by the young people. And so that's youth media. And I think Community TV Network is distinct because we aim for every class to finish a video. And what has happened, nowadays it might be different, but when we started, you know, people were, teachers were teaching people how to use a camera, right? And we were always focused on finishing a video. And I just want to say some of these clips were practice videos, and I also haven't seen them for 40 years, I guess. So this is fabulous to me to have them digitized.
Sorry, Denise, could you explain when you say a practice video, what do you mean?
Right. So when we teach, and I did hire, and some of the people in this group have been video instructors for Community TV Network for very low pay. But so when young people are practicing, they would go out in the community. So say the little children, that would be a practice video. The girl in the laundromat in Robert Taylor, we had a video class in the alternative high school at Robert Taylor Homes. And I'm not sure the American Dream was ever edited, but those seem like, you know, they're not edited. They're what we would call practice, where kids are trying, you know, learning how to use the camera. I do really like that they have been preserved, but they're usually not the videos that I would show. You know, I would always show the finished Keep County Open video. But it's very precious to see these lovely practice videos.
I mean, I think it's precious, and also it's beautiful and playful and intimate. And I mean, for me, that is part of what's like hidden, right, about this sort of history that we don't get access to all the time, Denise. And it's been such a pleasure myself, and also I think now with Media Burn to have access to those practice videos themselves, which, you know, just takes me to the next question, which is kind of backing up a little, like what brought you to video, right? You talk about having other folks teaching cameras, but y'all were focused on finishing videos. But what, like, we think of kids as having cameras in hand every day, all day now, and that's not, you know, the case in the 1970s. So what was it like bringing video to these students in particular, and why was video the medium that you sort of leaned into?
Right. Well, I started out as a teacher, and you know, I like Judy's comment. They were videos in process. So I came out of education, School of Education, but I was really interested in making sure that the kids learn. You know, how can they learn? And also to, you know, the obvious thing about picking a topic is that I wanted them to look for a solution. And that involves critical thinking. So for instance, you're in a neighborhood and everybody that's very high alcoholic rate. Well, the video, if they pick that, I would say, well, that's you know, that's your topic, but who's working, you know, kind of like Mr. Rogers, I guess, who's working to, you know, make that better? Who in the neighborhood is working so that they could become, you know, involved in the topics? There's all this education mixed in there where, you know, all the things about what they say, being empowered, where, you know, you would be important because you have a camera, you would be important because you're in part of history, you would be, you know, a person who learns these skills. And I often, in the beginning, worked with kids who had left public school. They were either, you know, for various reasons, they left public school. So, you know, here was an opportunity for them to learn how to, as a teacher, how to research, how to write, how to, you know, put a story together, beginning, middle, and end. But the bonus is the camera. That even makes it better. And you know, I can't say, you know, I was kind of on my own out there. I was kind of like a crazy person, but, you know, it still works. It's pretty important way to learn something.
So we have one question from Linda who's wondering, with all the changes in technology, we can kind of guess a little bit about what's changed over the years, but what else has changed about the way that you teach, about the way that the students and their subjects respond over the years? I mean, you've been doing this since, you know, a lot of the people that we saw would have been like being recorded on video for the very first time. They would have never seen a video camera before, and that's really not the case anymore. So what all has changed in the way that you work with students and in the way people approach video?
Yeah, well, what's changed is YouTube, obviously. But in the neighborhoods that I work in, they don't have access to after-school programs or, you know, arts education, let's say. So it's still, we're still kind of important, even with people using their cameras. Kids like it, they know now that their video will be seen. So I think that's a plus. You know, before you would say you're going to be on TV and they, you know, look at me like I was crazy because there were no outlets. But still, youth voice is the most underheard voice in America. So there's still this need, and I would say our teaching hasn't changed too much. No, it's pretty straightforward.
Can you talk a little bit about that teaching, Denise? You were mentioning that you came from an educational background, and not necessarily from a media background. How did that inform your approach to sort of starting the program, but then also more broadly, how were teachers recruited? Did students then become teachers? Were there things that teachers taught besides the sort of technical aspects of video making?
Well, the people that I hired were mostly people just out of college because the pay is so low. And oftentimes they would stick around for 4 years. That was about a good tour of duty. But you know, making the videos would be enhanced by people who have more of a film training. I did attend the community film workshop myself and studied 16 millimeter, but certainly having people with film majors as our instructors was a benefit, and with different, you know, styles and emphasis that they might bring to the class. But we have a curriculum. We really focus on youth. We focus on, you know, videos made by kids. We try to be creative. I think, you know, kids understand what's going to be interesting to other kids. So that's their input. A lot of it is their input, and that hasn't changed. So I would say that our curriculum and, you know, teaching kids is still really important. It's really important. And, yeah.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I think when you talk about kids know what's important to kids, right? There's this issue of distribution that has changed so much over time. So, and then I know you have hardcover, so maybe you can talk a bit about hardcover and explain what that is to folks, but then also talk about sort of distribution more broadly prior to hardcover, and how these videos were getting out to other kids.
Okay, so I was involved with organized to set up cable access in Chicago, and I was working with the citywide teenage newspaper, and we for many years were talking about wouldn't it be cool if we had a show, and it's the minute that access came about, we started our show. So there was the summer of '86. And the idea was to have a new show every 2 weeks. So the show is still going. Like I said, it's 709 shows so far. And so those can be seen on cable access and also on YouTube. But the ones that were, you know, the early shows are not digitized and they're not on YouTube. So we have a lot more digitizing to do. And before that, we entered videos in festivals. We did screenings. I think our distribution method was church basements. And, you know, if people would say, like say a classroom teacher, they would say, do you have a video about, you know, gangs? So we would go to their classroom and bring a TV, you know, a monitor. And we would set it up. So there was a lot of that schlepping around the video player and the TV. And for many years, that's how we screened them. Before the internet, right? It's crazy. And you know, we did distribute our show in the beginning before the internet. We would mail videos to other TV stations. I guess that's the distribution method, mailing videos, physical videos, and also these screenings where you carry the deck, the playback deck, and the monitor around into, I always say I've been in every church basement in the city, but to, you know, classrooms, media centers, people, actually, we documented a lot of political activism in the Puerto Rican and Mexican neighborhoods. And I would say we documented the rise of Latino political power. And oftentimes community organizations would want to, you know, view the videos. Kind of like a, you know, basketball team, you look at the the shots of the game, and then they would analyze. So we did some of that. That was pretty, you know, sometimes.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you could speak a little bit more about that. Like I was saying, the CTVN really documented the rise of Latino power in Chicago. Is that, you know, you were involved with so many schools in Pilsen and Humboldt Park, but also other neighborhoods uptown. So how did that work across neighborhoods? Were there communication between students at different schools? Were you taking these videos and the decks across neighborhoods, or did you sort of stick in one neighborhood at a time?
No, that we had the way we added classes. And I always raise the money for all of the programs, which is probably a really bad funding model. But every time I would raise money, I had a wait list of schools, and we would just add a school. And that's kind of how we proceeded. We always had like 5, 6, 10 schools at the same time. And yes, we would share the videos from one. When once I remember I had, and if I don't know if there's any students on here, if you remember, I had this cloth kind of suitcase thing, and I just have a 30 videos in there, and I would share them, you know, in the classroom, or the other teachers would share what other neighborhoods were doing. And sometimes we did video letters. Sometimes the kids wanted to communicate. So it's kind of like, you know, what they can do on their phones now. But yeah, we did that a lot. Share the videos that way. But that's a small group, you know, that's not thousands of viewers, little groups of kids.
Denise, if I could jump in, Judy has a couple of questions about specifics here. She wants to know, first of all, like which schools you were working with and how you got in with those schools, but then also where the funding was coming from.
Okay,
Because this is a very like idealistic, you know, effort that you're doing here, but it's not clear how you're making money.
Right, well, no, nobody made money. In the beginning, I was a Vista volunteer. At that time, I was making $50 a week full-time. And then the Comprehensive Employment and Training Act came in, the CETA, and I hired some people, like Judy Hoffman was a CETA teacher. A number of people were paid through that. And the schools, I moved into the Alternative Schools Network office, kind of just moved in, and got to know the principals and asked them if they wanted a video class. So we were, like I said, originally we were at Prologue in Uptown. We were at Latino Youth Alternative High School in Pilsen. We were at the Ruiz Belvis Alternative High School. We were in Cabrini Green, and there were two Catholic charity high schools and two public housing neighborhoods, Cabrini and Robert Taylor, so we had classes there. But really we just added them. I started in West Garfield. For those of you who are in Chicago, my first video classes, the ones with Mary Ann and Everything Must Change, which I think was the first video I made with middle school boys. Well, the boys made the video about the neighborhood, and then the girls said, we want to make one about our sister. Okay, fine. And that was the Mary Ann video.
Denise, you mentioned that your students really captured the rise of like the Latino political movements in Chicago. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about some of the stuff that we saw in the compilation. Both the protest march, there's lots of videos in your collection about they said free the 5 and 75, which is referring to 5 political prisoners who are also figure in like a lot of the murals that you see. And there's also the murals. There's a lot of just lovely videos about murals and public art, and you know, both the artists that are making it, but also people's reaction to it. Yeah, I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about that.
Well, the school that we were working in the Hollow Park, which was at that time a Puerto Rican neighborhood, the principal of the school and his friend, his name is Cisfredo Aviles, and his friend Ada Lopez started a group called West Town Concerned Citizens. And they just got together with a group of neighbors, and they thought, you know, wait a minute, you know, nobody over here has a job. What are we going to do? And they came up with these ideas. I mean, it's so simple, really. And they asked our students, because we were there, they asked the students to document it. Well, the first one that they organized was, this is the way they thought. We don't have any government jobs. So like, oh, we'll go protest at the post office. So that was one. Then they're like, oh, we don't have jobs. You know, they would just come up with these ideas. Oh, City Hall, so they do a protest there. But so, you know, it was in that way that we were connected to the first Puerto Rican congressman, Luis Gutierrez. And And even in Pilsen, when, you know, I gave kids the keys to the equipment, to our office in Pilsen. And I said, if anything happens in the neighborhood, just go get the camera, shoot it, shoot what's ever going on. And what happened was, Maria Saucedo, a community leader, died in a fire, and they documented, and in Pilsen, people just run in the streets. Anything happens, they run in the streets. And our students went on their own and they documented it, but that changed her death changed the code to become a firefighter in the city. Because the idea was that when she called the fire department, they didn't understand Spanish. So that's what I mean. For some reason, we were on the front line, and we had because we're in the community, we were attuned to what was going on. And even in Robert Taylor homes, the kids told me, and I don't know if you ran across any of these videos, Jessica, Peter, Adam, where they kept saying, you know, the elevators aren't fixed. And I tried to give that story to the local news. I called Bill Curtis like 8 times and telling him about this story. And then it turned out to be the story where they caught the elevator workers sleeping in their cars. Do you remember this, all you Chicago people? And it became the reporter was Pam Zucker, and she won a big award for her work. But it's like when you're on the ground with the kids and the neighbors, you get the story first, obviously. It's kind of like Rodney King or something. But yeah, it's pretty awesome, actually.
We have a question about La Esperanza. Speaking of Pilsen,
right,
about the mural at Benito Juarez High School. I know there's a lot of stuff in the collection about Benito Juarez High School and the fights over education in the high school in particular in Pilsen. I'll put the link to La Esperanza in the chat. But could you, there's a question from Hinda, who wants to know if you remember anything about how it was made, how people reacted to it, who saw it at the time. They say the video has been featured in exhibits at the National Museum of Mexican Art recently, and that they know it's very meaningful to cultural workers in the community.
It is very meaningful. And actually it was not in the 70s. Sorry. Media burn. It was our first video camera. And actually I kept asking Mirko, he's in this group right now. I say, I don't know how to use this camera. You have to help me. And it was our first our first color camera. And it was either the late 79 when we started shooting, but definitely finished it in 1980. And again, it was, you know, the opening story, we had the footage, actually Mirko got it from the University of Illinois, of the protests. So the beginning of that film is the protest, and then I would just I was the video instructor, and I would just take them there to, you know, document the mural. And you have to understand, the kids in that school, they weren't necessarily interested in, you know, sitting at a desk and reading. So I think, you know, that's the other thing about video for kids who don't engage in school so well. Well, you can get them to write if you have a little more fun, you know. And I remember, you know, having them sit on my car, our pan shots, you know, like don't tell your parents. But that, you know, we had fun. And it was important, and they felt good telling that story. But they picked the story. They picked the story, and yeah, it turned into be a very important work that people look at a lot. It's it's in a gallery right now at Gallery 400 at the University of Illinois.
Related to speaking about distribution and also protest footage, there's a question in the chat that I wanted to return to about whether screenings in public, when you would take these videos to different neighborhoods or even in their own neighborhood, ever influenced activist movements themselves, if there was a kind of feedback loop, the writer writes, when activists saw the videos, or if students saw the videos and then joined activist movements, or even just joined CTVN.
Well, there were feedback loops. And I think the other thing is that in education and in really poor neighborhoods, I think that part of the learning was that people can get together and make a change. And, you know, that was my interest, is kind of a radical education about what's important and how you can be part of a positive thing. And especially if, you know, in your neighborhood is like the gangs are so powerful and these negative stuff is so powerful. Well, here's another powerful thing. So that was my interest, is taking kids who might have been, you know, neglected, I would say, by the system, by education, by poverty, and, you know, have that view. And yes, oftentimes, like I said, in the Westtown Concerned Citizens, they ended up hiring one of my youth workers half-time for them and half-time for me. And that's pretty awesome. And she would regularly take the videos over there and they would look at them just as if it were the last you know, you're a basketball team. And they used it to strategize. And I would say even in the 90s, when you know, just as an example, with the End of the Nightstick, and Peter Kuttner, who is one of our archivists as well, was the director for that. I think that had a huge impact on people, to see that when we showed those videos in churches and all kinds of things, that people could see that it wasn't an isolated incident, that it's a bigger story, that it has a context, that it has a language. And I think, you know, there's probably a zillion references, you know, videos that really help people see the context of what's going on in their neighborhood.
So maybe we have time for one more question. Sarah wants to know what important stories the kids at CTVN are reporting on today.
Well, screen time. They know it's not good. There's one called Gen Z. What's a Gen Z? They're working on what is their identity? So that's pretty interesting. I don't know. I don't think off the top of my head. I know those. There's one about the environment coming up that they're working on, like what can you do about climate change? They're looking at number 3. Do you know number 3 cause of climate change? Food waste. So they found that they did their research on that. Those are the ones I can think of right now. Screen time. Big issue. But you know, all through time, young people, for the youth issues, relationships have always been really big. I guess that's a top 3. Relationships with their families, their teachers, their peers have always been really important.
Well, I'd just like to take one last opportunity to thank Denise, not just for being here tonight, but to celebrate her massive legacy of working with more than 20,000 students over the last 50 years and creating this just monumental archive of moving images recording the lives of everyday Chicagoans. You know, you're very self-deprecating, of course, when you talk about the work that you and your students did, but it's not an accident that these students were able to, you know, record these events that are, in retrospect, so important to the Puerto Rican liberation movement, to Latinx identity, to you know, all these communities that were ignored by mainstream media. You know, if you look up any of the protests or the events that we see in your videos, you're not going to find many stories in the Sun-Times or the Tribune about them. And as a result, like, the videos that you and your students made are the only documents that we have. It's because of, like, putting the way that you put the camera into the hands of kids, into the hands of community members, and just had them speak to the people in their neighborhood, the people that they knew, do stories about the stuff that was important to them, which is very rarely the kind of thing that's important to the people making decisions on the news desks at the you know, broadcast channels. So the legacy that you've created is really quite extraordinary and one of a kind. So I'm sure that all of us here just want to thank you and celebrate everything that you've done. I hope that everybody will watch some of the many videos we've linked to in the chat. And when we launch the new website, I'll have a nice and shiny CTVN page that will point you towards some of our favorite videos from the collection, because it is a very large collection and a little bit difficult to just sort of sift through without any sort of guidance. But it has just remarkable stuff in there. So thank you, Denise, thank you. If we were all in person, we would be clapping and standing up and hooting and hollering at the moment.
And I want to thank, you know, Media Burn, the archivist. It's hard work to take all those old videos. There's, you know, there's Dusty and all that. And thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Adam. And then our archivist, Jessica's one of our archivists, Peter Kuttner. And there's many people in this group who have supported CTVN through the years as a volunteer or as a video instructor. Thank you.
And I guess on the way out, before we let everybody go, Denise, you can find CTVN videos on mediaburn.org, but where can you find out more information about CTVN or where to support your organization?
We do have a website. It's really out of date. But yeah, that's the place to go.
Okay, I'll put that in the link. Thanks everybody. Thanks for coming. We'll see you next month.